You walk into a room, and you see something small skitters across the wall. You look closer, it's a spider, and before your brain has formed a single thought, your heart is already pounding. You may have screamed, you may have grabbed a shoe, but the spider was probably harmless. So what is actually going on? Why does a creature that has never wronged you, and in most cases couldn't even hurt you, trigger one of the most powerful fear responses a human being can have? The answer is woven into your DNA, your evolutionary history, and some genuinely fascinating science. First, the numbers. Arachnophobia is one of the most common specific phobias on Earth. Roughly 1/3 of women and 1/4 of men experience measurable spider fear, and for many of them, it is severe enough to affect daily life. Studies in the UK estimate around 4% of the population meets the clinical threshold for arachnophobia. And here's the thing that should puzzle you. Of the roughly 45,000 known spider species, only a tiny fraction are genuinely dangerous to humans. The fear is wildly out of proportion to the actual threat. And that disproportionality is exactly what makes it so scientifically interesting. When you see a spider, the response does not start consciously. It starts in the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that functions as your threat detection alarm. The amygdala processes incoming sensory data at extraordinary speed and can launch a full stress response before your rational, conscious mind has even been consulted. Adrenaline floods your system. Your pupils dilate. Your muscles tense. You are already in fight or flight before you have consciously registered what you are looking at. This is not a design flaw. It is a survival feature. The question is why spiders specifically seem to have a dedicated fast lane into that system. To answer that, you have to go back to the East African savanna, tens of thousands of years ago, where our earliest ancestors were emerging. Researchers from Columbia University, including psychologist Joshua New and his colleague Tamsin German, proposed that the human visual system retains what they called ancestral mechanisms uniquely dedicated to the rapid detection of immediate and specific threats that persistently recurred throughout evolutionary time. In that early environment, many spiders were venomous. With no antivenom and no medicine, a bite could be fatal. Natural selection heavily favored individuals whose nervous systems detected and avoided spiders fastest because those individuals survived, reproduced, and passed on their genes. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the alarm became hardwired. The fear was not learned, it was inherited, and it is still sitting in your genome. The most compelling evidence for this came from the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences in Germany. Neuroscientist Stephanie Hole's team worked with 48 infants who were only 6 months old. These babies had not seen horror movies, had not heard a parent scream, had not absorbed any cultural messaging about spiders. They were a clean slate. Using an infrared eye tracker to measure pupil dilation, the researchers showed the infants images of spiders and images of flowers as a comparison. When shown spiders, the infants' pupils dilated to an average of 0.14 millimeters. For flowers, just 0.03 millimeters. Nearly 5 times the response in babies with no reason to consciously fear anything. Hoale concluded that the fear of spiders appears to be deeply embedded in our evolutionary heritage, present from birth, not built from experience. New and German's Columbia research confirmed something else remarkable.